At 13,000 feet in the Bolivian highlands, on a freezing June night around 1400 AD, a family laid hundreds of small potatoes on a bed of straw and walked away. By morning, the potatoes were rock hard, frozen solid by the brutal night air. The sun rose. The family came back. They walked across the potatoes barefoot, stomping out water with the weight of their bodies. Then they did it again the next night, and the next. After 5 days, the potatoes weren't potatoes anymore. They were chuño, hard, gray, lightweight little stones that could be stored in a clay pot, sealed, and kept for 10 years without rotting, without refrigeration, without electricity, without any modern machine. Just cold air, sunlight, and human feet. This is the story of Chuño, the forgotten freeze-dried food invented in the Andes that beat modern food science by 6 centuries. For most of history, food preservation was about salt, smoke, or fermentation. The Egyptians dried fish in the desert. The Vikings air-dried cod in Arctic wind. The Romans cured pork in salt. But the people of the Andes faced a completely different problem. At 12,500 feet above sea level, in the high mountain plateaus of modern Bolivia and Peru, almost nothing grows. The air is thin, the soil is poor, crops freeze easily, animals struggle, even the sun feels weaker. And yet somehow, civilization thrived up there. The Tiwanaku built giant stone temples. The Inca built an empire of over 12 million people, and the secret to all of it, the foundation that made high-altitude civilization possible at all, came down to one simple food, the potato. But the potato has a problem. It rots. Fresh potatoes go bad within weeks. They get soft, moldy, fermented. They can't be carried on long journeys. They can't be stored through harsh winters. And in the Andean highlands, winters can be brutal. So the people of the high mountains, generations before the Inca Empire even existed, figured out something nobody else in human history had managed. They invented freeze-drying, without science, without theory, just by watching the way nature worked and copying it. According to archaeological evidence, Chuño was being made in the Andes by the people of the Tiwanaku culture, who lived around the Collao Plateau between Bolivia and Peru, possibly as early as 800 AD. That's centuries before the Inca Empire reached its peak in the 1400s. Chuño was already a household staple. The Spanish chronicler José de Acosta described it in 1590 after watching it being made firsthand, and the technique has barely changed. Here's how it works. The Andean highlands have a unique climate. The sun is intense during the day, warming the air well above freezing. But the nights drop to brutal cold, often hitting -5 degrees Celsius or colder during June and July. This freeze-thaw cycle, which would destroy most food sources, becomes the perfect natural freeze-drying machine if you know how to use it. The villagers harvest small, frost-resistant, slightly bitter varieties of potato, not the ones we eat today. These are tough little tubers, bred over generations to handle cold. They spread the potatoes out on the bare ground on straw mats, sometimes covered with cloth. The first night, the potatoes freeze, hard. The water inside their cells expands and breaks the cell walls. The next morning, the sun rises. The potatoes start to thaw, releasing some of that broken cell water. Then the villagers walk across them barefoot. The pressure squeezes the liquid out, just like wringing a sponge. Some accounts describe entire families doing this together, including children, walking in slow circles across the potato beds. The skins peel off easily. The water drains away. The potatoes shrink and harden. Then they're left in the sun to dry further, then frozen again that night, then trampled again the next morning. Over 5 days, sometimes up to 2 or 3 weeks for the highest quality batches, the potatoes lose almost all their water. What's left is chuño, light, hard, almost like a small stone, gray or black depending on the variety, and nearly impossible to spoil. This is the exact same scientific principle that modern freeze-drying uses. In a commercial freeze-drying machine, food is first frozen solid, then a vacuum is applied. The ice inside the food sublimates, meaning it goes directly from solid to gas without ever turning back into water. This removes moisture without damaging the food's structure. The result is a lightweight, shelf-stable product that can last for years and rehydrate quickly when water is added. Modern freeze-drying was invented commercially in the early 20th century, with major refinements during World War II and the space race. NASA and the US military made it famous in the 1960s by using it for astronaut food and combat rations. But the Inca and the cultures before them had been doing the same thing in their backyards for at least 600 years, with no vacuum chamber, no electricity, just the natural altitude of the Andes. And the food itself was extraordinary. Modern researchers have studied traditional Chuño. It can keep for 10 years or longer when stored properly. It's lightweight. It's nearly impossible to attack by mold or rodents. It rehydrates quickly when added to soup or stew. And it retains most of the nutritional value of the original potato, including starches, fiber, and minerals. This made Chuño the perfect long-term storage food for a high-altitude civilization that had to survive freezing winters, food shortages, and long military campaigns. The Inca took the Chuño tradition and weaponized it. Across their empire, they built a system of state-controlled warehouses called colca. Some of these warehouses were enormous, built into the cool sides of mountains, filled with thousands of pounds of chuño, dried maize, and dried meat called charqui. This charqui, by the way, is the direct ancestor of the modern English word jerky. The colca system allowed the Inca to feed armies during long campaigns, support workers building roads and temples, and store enough food to survive years of bad harvests. Llama caravans carried chuño along the Capacñan, the massive Inca road network that stretched over 25,000 miles across South America. In 2024 and 2025, archaeologists excavating an Inca site called Tambo Viejo on the southern coast of Peru actually found 500-year-old chuño, 2 preserved tubers sealed inside a ceramic jar in the floor, dating to the 15th or 16th century. They survived half a millennium in a coastal jar, visible proof that the Inca system worked exactly as the chroniclers described. And here's something almost nobody talks about. Modern scientists who study altitude agriculture argue that Chuño was so important to highland civilization that the Inca Empire itself might not have existed without it. The Swiss-German geographer Karl Troll famously argued that the freezing nighttime temperatures of the southern Peruvian highlands, the very temperatures that allowed Chuño to be made, directly favored the rise of the Inca. In other words, the empire was made possible by the food was made possible by the climate, and the climate was made possible by the altitude. Geography, food technology, and political power all stacked together. Even after the Spanish conquest devastated Inca civilization, Chuño survived. Spanish records show that Chuño was so popular among Andean miners working in the brutal silver mines of Potosí in the 1500s and 1600s that it became one of the most traded foods in the entire colonial South American economy. Even the conquistadors, who destroyed almost everything else about Inca culture, kept eating it because it worked too well to abandon. And it's still made the same way today. Walk through a market in La Paz, Bolivia, or Cusco, Peru, and you'll see piles of chuño for sale, dark gray and lightweight, looking like small black stones. Andean families still make it in the same fields their ancestors used 600 years ago. The Quechua word chuño literally means frozen potato. The technique survived, the food survived, and if you eat it today, you're eating the same recipe that fueled an empire, predicted modern food science, and proved that ancient cultures sometimes understood physics better than we give them credit for. So tell me below, if you had to live at 13,000 feet in the Andes and your survival depended on a tiny gray potato stone that you froze, stomped, and dried for 5 days straight, Would you trust it to feed your family through a 10-year winter? Or would you starve trying to find something better? Drop your honest answer in the comments. And if you want more forgotten food technology that beat modern science by centuries, subscribe to Alternate Past. There's more waiting.